Economic independence is recurring revenue, which is cash flow coming in on a regular, predictable, consistent basis. When you have enough recurring revenue that shows up and pays life's basic expenses, not necessarily living wildly, but handling your basic lifestyle, you're economically independent. When that comes from either one of two sources, your assets or your entrepreneurial income. Here's the second piece of win then play. Economic or financial independence. Different than financial freedom. Financial freedom is that state of mind and state of being that I mentioned. Economic independence is recurring revenue, which is cash flow coming in on a regular, predictable, consistent basis. When you have enough recurring revenue that shows up and pays life's basic expenses, not necessarily living wildly, but handling your basic lifestyle, you're economically independent. When that comes from either one of two sources, your assets or your entrepreneurial income. Your entrepreneurial income is the income that comes in when you're not tableside, right? So when that covers life's basic expenses, here's what happens. You've already won. Now you can swing for the fences. If you're married, my guess is that your money personality and their money personality are not the same. This opposites attract thing, right? Like the entrepreneur usually has ultimate optimism, let's go full force, let's red line, and then the other person's like, can we just have a little bit of money in the bank so I know that we're gonna be okay and be able to pay our bills? Like there's conflict there all the time. Economic independence transformed my wife from being concerned and a fact finder and asking too many questions to being my biggest cheerleader. Like, let's go. Because we're not risking vehicles, homes, lifestyle, or food because that's coming in from our assets. Recurring revenue. Most people are investing for accumulation. Accumulation is the enemy. Accumulation as a mindset is at best play to win, but likely play not to lose. What accumulation says is that wealth is a function of three things. Number one, how much money do you have? So that's where that crap of it takes money to make money comes from. It doesn't take money to make money. Yes, if you have money, you might be able to make money with it. But the reality is it takes value creation. It takes problem solving. It takes service. That's what makes money. And when people get this defeatist mindset of I don't have enough money to make money or it takes money to make money, it is absolutely a destructive place to be. The second part of the formula for accumulation is return. And I'm sure you've heard, in order to get a high return, you've got to take a high risk. That's stupid. It is the dumbest idea. Like some drunk assholes on Wall Street came up with this idea and sold us this bill of goods. Risk defined as chance of loss. So how by increasing your chance of loss are you going to get a return? Right now, have you seen everybody super excited about Powerball or whatever the hell is going on in the lottery? That is just a tax on the poor. It's a there is no chance you're going to win. It's statistically irrelevant. And even worse is the mindset of something for nothing or that wealth is a game of luck. I wouldn't buy it. I just wouldn't buy it. It pisses me off that it even exists because if you look at the demographics, it's people that can't afford it that are buying it because their life is shitty and they don't know what we're talking about here. We've got to live by example. We've got to embrace this because it's the only hope they have. When you can transform your life and you're willing to talk to them, that can change the world. But if instead we think, oh, we're just going to hand it over and we're going to go to church and we're going to pray and then that money's going to come or I'm going to watch The Secret, I'm going to meditate this shit into my life, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You know? Like, I'm here to get 1 million people economically independent. If they're economically independent, then they can be an example to other people because all of you have patience. And if all of a sudden, and not patience like you're a patient person, I sure as hell am not a patient person, not one of my values or virtues, but what I'm saying is you have people that you're serving, and if you can be an example to them, there's hope for them. Like when I was a teenager, I went to a thing called Governor's Honors Academy. It was for the top 50 students in the state of Utah. I was 51 apparently, but thank God someone dropped out, so I got in, you know. And it changed my world. I met scientists. This was like 26, 27 years ago. They were talking about 3D printing. It was blowing my mind. I met Ren Zafiropoulos, who invented Xerox. I met Jake Garn, who went into space as an astronaut and a senator. Like, I came back a changed person. I saw possibility. I saw hope. And I was growing up in East Carbon, Utah. That's the place where dreams go to die, my friends. Here's what happens there. We went and filmed there in December. This is how we were welcomed by 2 kids. Like the sprinkler of fingers, right? I'm like, what the hell? And then I find out, like, when I lived there, I think it was at its peak 5,000 people and 2 cops. It's now down to 1,000 people and 5 cops. Wrong direction, right? Not a good place to be. So Governor's Honors Academy changed my life. Like, it gave me hope. And so my hope is, like, I'm never going to reach 1 million people, just me showing up and speaking and making the difference. The difference is I get people like Mike who inspires other people. I get people like Tom who inspires other people, or whoever else is here in the room. That if you can actually do it, you're the amplifier. You're the influencer. I don't care whether I get the credit or not. I care whether it actually happens or not, right? And I feel like in my world and in my family, that's where I'm really focused, because I want to make sure that we don't go back into scarcity and think that hard work is all it takes. Hard work isn't all that it takes. Hard work and bad financial philosophy equals bankruptcy. It equals financial slavery. It's destructive. It destroys relationships. I watched it within my own family. I want my kids to understand they can pursue their greatest abilities and they can make mistakes as part of the learning process, and that they can go out there, and if they choose to create a business or they choose to work for someone else, as long as they understand the rules of wealth and how money works, and that they got to embrace a life that they love and live their sole purpose, that's my work. I'm going to do it within my family and within the family that chooses to hire us too. My kids just don't pay me anything, right? They do give me kisses and hugs most of the time, you know, or wake me up at 4 in the morning other times, bastards. It's good that they're cute, you know? I love them most of the time, a good 95, 96% of the time. And then 4 or 5% of the time, I'm really confused why we had them. I just remember it was fun to make them, you know? So economic independence is this game changer that if you can achieve it, it's not a 30-year proposition, it's a 3 to 7 year. 7 year, if you're like me, you're not going to give up a single luxury in life. 3 years, you're already on a good track. You know, you're already, like when I meet Tom, he's already got everything in really good order. I had to work extra hard to be like, God, I need to give him some value for the money and investment that he paid, you know, because he was really pretty dialed in, had done a lot of work before he ever met me. And so when I look at that situation, it's like 3 to 7 years is completely attainable and possible, but I have to teach you the methodology. Here's the quick version. Number 1, we already talked about. Keep more of what you make. Don't go invest a single dollar or a cent until you've figured out how to be more efficient. Keep those dollars without cutting back or sacrificing. Number 2, strategically engineer wealth. What does that mean? It means find out that economic independence number and reverse engineer what it's going to take to get there in 3 categories. Number 1, your foundation. Your foundation is making sure you have the right car insurance, homeowner insurance, liability, disability, life insurance, business owner policies. So you're transferring risk. It's working together so it's efficient. You're not overspending your money. You got the right credit score. You got the right cash flow reporting. You know, you've got your basic financial structure and team, because if you don't, things are going to slip through the cracks. I mean, I'm pretty sure that everyone knows 100% that when you are a business owner, you got to have an amazing team. That if you don't have an amazing team, life sucks and you don't do as good at business. Here's an epiphany for some of you. It works the exact same with finance, right? Sometimes we go, oh, I have a really good financial advisor. I'm like, great. No financial advisor can be an expert in everything. They might be good at serving one area, but what's your team? Like, part of winning than playing is you pick the right team. Like, we pretty much knew when Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, John Stockton, like all this team went, and it was the dream team in like '96, we knew who was going to win. It was just a matter of how much. How much were we going to win by? That was win then play. Why not have all-stars on your team? The Rockefellers did. The Rockefellers, a-holes as many of them are, they had a good team, and they're on their 6th generation of wealth. The Vanderbilts, on the other hand, didn't have a good financial team, and they squandered the largest fortune in history. As a matter of fact, they had more money than the U.S. Treasury. They were so rich that they had money all over the world because that's how much money they had. And guess how much they have now? None. I mean, yeah, there's Vanderbilt University, not owned by the Vanderbilts. There's the Breakers in Rhode Island, not owned by the Vanderbilts. The Biltmore in South Carolina, North Carolina, one of the Carolinas, not owned by the Vanderbilts. 10 Mansions in Manhattan, gone, owned by the Vanderbilts at one time. They got really good at spending money, not good at actually providing value. Part of it was not having your financial team, not having everybody on the same page. So the second piece to this of a strategically engineering wealth, the first is the foundational piece. The second is sustainability and safety measures. Building up enough liquidity, having estate plans, having asset protection, those types of things, because we're all in store for financial surprises. It's just that we can prepare for 90+% of them if we actually take the time and actually get it done.